Microplex OCT for diabetic retinopathy and glaucoma with micropulse yellow laser and Avastin treatment. Vision Express Hearing, latest hearing aid technology, wax removal, hearing tests, and more. Vision Express. Call us today for all your eye care and hearing needs. Can you see me now?
You're watching MBC.
The winning numbers for the evening draw of Thursday, 4th November 2021 were Tic-Tac-Toe 3, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 21. Big 4, 7, 3, 3, 6. Big 4 Multi-X, FP. Pick 2, 9, 3. Pick 2 Multi-X, 2X. 1 off, 1, 4, 1. Lucky 3, 7, 8, 0.
Good night class, good night, can I help you? Tonight we meet again to discuss the events of what has been a very eventful week indeed. Tonight, as we move on, we want to pay attention or address youth matters to some extent and to deal with some of the issues which has been making the round in the news. Firstly, or rather, there is this thing making the round now with a priest asserting that the elections was unfair and in essence questioning the validity of the elections, questioning the people's will. Let me just say to the priest, to the church, and to the community who see nothing wrong, the priest and the head of the council is in essence calling into disrepute, bringing into disrepute a democratic process which saw a government put in place, a democratic electoral process that was validated by observers. And so therefore, when persons say that there is no need for an apology, I dare say that the priest and his statements undermine the democratic process, instead creates an atmosphere of unease and takes away the confidence, attempt to take away the confidence that persons, the electorate rather, placed in the government. And so therefore, for any thinking person to call into question a validated democratic process, observed and certified, validated, fair by international observers is unacceptable. And so, Father, don't relish in the support of ignorance. An apology is appropriate and forthcoming. Also, too, we saw this week one of the culprits coming out of hibernation and making a statement which I can only classify as hogwash, and that is Guy Joseph. For Guy Joseph to state that had his ineptitude of a government won the elections, that St. Jude would have been open, is a travesty. Guy Joseph, not because you were voted out, but because you have abused your office, you have abused the people, you have raped the economy, you, Guy Joseph, have not the right to talk. Not because you were voted out, as this government is a government of every St. Lucian, but because you are part and parcel which drag the identity and the economy of this country into the ground, you have not the right to talk. As far as I'm concerned, you should be an indicted individual. As the government moves to strengthen economic growth and grow the economy with the view of providing employment and economic stability to the many, the state of our nation's youth cannot be ignored. The state of our nation's young people should be placed somewhere at the top of the agenda. And that is because the actions and in some cases inactions of young people could accelerate, complement economic growth, and in some cases undermine and cripple economic growth. The young people of this country, and by extension, young people of the region, face a crisis of identity. It is evident in their diet, it is most evident in their music, it is evident in their diet, their music, their dress, and we must do something to arrest it, as it threatens to erode the very values which constitute St. Lucian society, West Indian heritage, West Indian identity. People, St. Lucia, the block life must be made unattractive. And not unattractive through suppression and neglect, but unattractive through the provisions of alternatives and options. The block life cannot be the major attraction for our young people. We've failed young people in this regard for years, and we cannot continue to fail them again. Our education system have a role to play. Critical thinking must be the key component of problem solving. In fact, critical thinking is a key component of problem solving. And so therefore, critical thinking must be the bedrock of our education system. We cannot continue to simply prepare children to receive instructions and execute. We cannot build a nation like that. It has been the hallmark, it has been what characterized our education system. We cannot move forward like that. St. Lucia, for those born in the 80s and 90s, it is almost acceptable now that 35, the age of 35, is a milestone. To ignore this is to contribute to the erosion of our very society. We cannot ignore this. Young people are crying out, and young people are crying out for help. Young people have to be incorporated. They are the ones who will secure this country. They are the ones who will validate. They are the ones who will ensure that there is a St. Lucia 50 years from now. What sort of St. Lucia we have 50 years from now is dependent on the choices and decisions we make today. The institutions charged with the responsibility to guide our disturbed and in some cases criminal-minded young people must live up to that obligation. As it is, the industrial school, as it was initially set out to be Massad, is simply a housing, a detention center for our young people who are bent on deviance and fall through the cracks. It cannot continue so. It cannot. Young people, our most precious resource. Like I've said, and I will continue to say, the parents of one 15-year-old must be a parent to all 15-year-olds. And if we continue to view it in that regard, we will not get there tomorrow, but we will get there. As it is, we owe it. I've heard persons older than me, persons from generations before me, blame themselves for the situation we're in today with regards to the nation young people. And that is because they see themselves as not having done anything. My generation cannot continue to not do nothing. Crime, criminality cannot continue to be attractive to young people. The policing of our communities, it is unacceptable when within the municipality of Castries, within the city of Castries and environs, you could sit and hear bullets, gunshots ring out from any particular location and sit 5 hours after watching that spot, that community, that environment, that region, and not see a police vehicle within the vicinity, sending again the illusion of intimidation. It is unacceptable. All our hands are up in the air now, seeming to suggest that things are out of hand. And continued inaction by those charged with the responsibility to deal with it is what got us to where we are. To the average ghetto person, to the average ghetto youth, and I don't like the connotations associated with the term ghetto. I don't like it. Because trust me, some of the most dynamic thinkers and problem solvers could be found in there. It's simply a matter of engaging them, and in some cases meeting them on their terms. We cannot continue. To the average ghetto person, you know what it is to struggle. Do you want that for your son or daughter? Is it okay for you to engage in ghetto activity with your son or daughter 20 feet away from you? Is it okay for you to be on the block 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and your 15 or 13-year-old school child is accompanying you? How do we change that? Persons must first take responsibility. Those of us who, for reasons either of our economic status, socioeconomic status rather, cultural status, demographics, happen to be in that situation, cannot want it for our children. The idea of I got through, my child will get through, it is not acceptable. That is not love. And for those out there, somewhere I think on social media or in some paper I saw a call to fathers. To the legislators I say, under this administration, I expect to see the rights of fathers equated to that of mothers. Let's not stop calling fathers to play their role. Let us defend the right and the role and the place of a father in the child's life. As it is, as the law exists, child is considered property of the mother. And so therefore, when those who should know better out there asking fathers to step up, We don't want to step up. We want our right and our place in our children's life to be defined and protected by law. That is what fathers want. I have seen a number of fathers whose effort to be present and part of the child's upbringing is hampered by the legislation and by the courts. The courts operate on the basis that child is property of the mother. And so therefore, when they rule in favor of the father, seldom it is in essence a favor. When you walk into the court office and persons who deal with it on a daily basis say to you, why y'all fathers don't organize and make a petition? We don't have to organize and make a petition. One would think that our legislators are forward-thinking individuals. We cannot continue so. The legislation discriminates and is an abuse to children. The mere fact that the state, as it is, victimizes, abuse, and discriminates against children, because the state doesn't secure and guarantee the right of a father in the life of a child like it does with respect to that of a mother. People moving forward is like we really and truly have to build a country from scratch. We really and truly have to build a country from scratch. Our young people deserve better. Our young people need to know that if you put in your all, you will be rewarded. This must be a meritorious society and not a society on connection. Your capacity to fulfill and do the job is what should secure your place, your employment, and not your connection. And if this society were to reward merit, what we would see is an atmosphere of hope. We would see young people striving. We would see young people putting their all into it, because they expect, with performance and excellence, there is reward and compliment. People, what has constituted this society, and sadly, I sit here today having to deal with some of the same issues that were around when I was a schoolboy. It has me, and this in essence means that there has not been holistic growth. It means that our society is creeping by. Early on, in the news we heard of Laverne Spencer and what would be an appropriate reward. What would be an appropriate package for Laverne Spencer? Courtesy Laverne Spencer, what would be an appropriate package is that the authorities, the government, put things in place to identify the 15, 20, 30 Laverne Spencers that's out there. That's what we want. We want a government to invest in young people, in youth, and build capacity. That's what we want. We want that when you go out there, you could say that the compliments were there to enhance my excellence. And it is not simply my effort and determination. This is what we want. And it is simple. We need to make the every engagement of young people rewarding. And I will say again, our inter-school sports meet should, facilitate the presence of college and university scouts. So young people throw themselves into the line of sports and athletics because an opportunity lies there. We must incentivize them. We must give them reason. Sports at school cannot just continue to be a matter of keep fit, of physical education. It must be a doorway to opportunity in this country, because it is a doorway to opportunity in so many other countries. And we have the capacity to put the structure in place for that. When one man can receive more than $10 million, personally more than $10 million, past the budget of the entire ministry, it is very easy to house a scout for 1 or 2 days. Even if only one child attains the opportunity to attend a university, a college, become a professional, improve the living standard of his or her immediate family, extended family in some cases, it is worth it. We must set benchmarks, people, and it cannot not be your business, because the reality is, like I said, young people have the capacity to accelerate and complement economic growth, or stagnate and cripple it. To the average ghetto person, appropriate provision and love for your child is not a brand name shoe because you didn't have. Alright? Checking for your child cannot be that he or she have the smartphone, the smartest phone, the most expensive. Checking for your child means creating an atmosphere ripe with opportunity, so that you know if you invest in your child, you will not bury them. That is what loving your child means. People, to the young mothers, I say to you, to the young mothers, you, and this is particularly for young mothers, children are supposed to be pretty, not sexy. You're making the manner in which some parents dress and cover their children, you're simply making your children objects of desire. And it's okay to dress how you want. And this again, when I speak to a crisis of identity. A crisis of identity. They now walk the streets almost naked and it's okay. Their music is X-rated and it's okay. To the artists, to the DJs, I say to you guys, your impact and your influence on young people is huge. Your impact and your influence on young people is huge. And so therefore, the music you play help shape the thinking of our young people. The music you write, the music you sing, help shape the thinking of our young people. I mean, it cannot be okay. Think about it. The amount of song, the amount of reggae tunes that was banned in the 80s. Peace Treaty of by Peter Tosh was banned. This one have a gun, that one have a gun when he busts. But now, we could take on, we could tolerate artists verbalizing scenarios, criminal cases, turning a criminal matter into a song. We celebrate murder and mayhem our children, and we seem not to have a problem with it. We wonder why it is our children have lost focus and seem thirsty for blood. That is because we allow them to listen to music that glorify murder and mayhem. And to the radio stations, I say to you, just bleeping out what you perceive as the disgusting part is not enough. There must be an effort on the part of these radio stations to play music that uplifts. We're in a crisis. And that is your role as a media house. It cannot just be, you need to set the trend. And it cannot be, there is not a market, or that is not what is required. That cannot be. St. Lucia, our young people is in crisis. And it's at a stage where, I see what it has done to Jamaica. I see what's happening in Trinidad. We're too small for that. We're too small for that. An investment in our young people, positive investment in our young people. Intervention must be made. You have to sit in your balcony and see. You could see the needy out there. Reach out. Stretch a hand. Put something extra in your child's lunch bag. Let us save this country. The government cannot do it alone. And the efforts of the government must be complemented by the actions of the people. At this point, I invite Charmaine, what do you think insofar as what I've said?
Good evening. Can I help you, class? This is indeed a very sensitive and a topic dear to my heart. As Tim rightly said, I sometimes look back on the word ghetto and hold steadfast to the fact that that sometimes begins to label a child. However, having grown up in the 70s, into the 80s and then into the 90s, for us life was a lot different, and it was much more of a situation where a village raised a child. And so fortunately for some of us who are towards our late 40s, maybe some of us are 50, I sometimes caption that as the last generation before children just started raising themselves. For me, it is an emotional topic because I see every day the perils that the youth face. But I, as a parent, as a young parent, having been a single mother for a strong period of my son's life, though I continue to allow open dialogue, sort of like co-parenting, but I would like to add to a lot of what Tim shared with you earlier on, and especially where our girls are concerned. I have overlooked the situation of COVID, and during that period, with the absence of actual face-to-face interaction with school and having a lot of kids remaining at home while parents venture out to the hotels and so on to ensure that they are able to provide the basic things for those kids, most of them are left unattended. And with the type of music, the emphasis that is now very prevalent with peer pressure, the absence of parents instilling certain values in their kids, and I say us parents because I am a parent, and like he rightly said, the onus is on us to make our contribution in raising those kids. And like he said, if you are a mother to a 15-year-old, and I think as long as you're a mother or a father, you would, and you want the best for your child, him or her, you would actually put your best foot forward. And our society seems to have drifted away from that, because in constant interaction with young parents, what you have now is a deterrence as sort of constructive criticism, where you may call out a parent and say to them, you saw something that is disturbing. You actually become enemies with these people become enemies with you, because they seem to think that you're labeling children. But for me, constructive criticism was what built us. A community, you went down the road and you were in an area that you were not supposed to be, but you knew deep down inside that if you saw Charles or so-and-so, you would sometimes hide or never let that person see you because the report would get home. That no longer exists in our society. And you see a constant blame on government itself to provide those things that should be coming from home. Constructivity, went down the road and you were in an area that I spoke to Tim earlier today, and we were discussing the issues that we were going to cover. And I perused a report by PAHO where it was an adolescent and youth profile for 2017. We're now in 2021, so you can imagine how many years since a pattern, which I'll share with you, has actually festered. And it actually highlights St. Lucia, and it notes a very high rate of early age sexual activity among young people, especially the females. And among those young people, more than 26 of those adolescent persons, 13 to 15 years, have had actual sexual activity. And in most cases, noted by that survey that with one or two or more persons without any form of protection. Though it seems to lie in some secrecy, but you have people who would be honest with you and tell you that the rate of childbearing mothers have gone at a higher percentage, ranging from the age of 14 to about 18. And you think of how could a child be raising a child without the actual parental skills that are required to be a fit parent. You have a lot of broken homes where you have two very young persons, maybe a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, who are challenged with the reality of something that may have occurred maybe just once, but a baby came out of it. And most of the time, these kids are left on the wayside with no one to turn to. Some of them fall into depression, especially the females. And so for me, when I look at what obtains today, I would like to agree that there needs to be a lot more emphasis placed on development, things that include young people, critical thinking. I think that skill centers like the NSDC should be in almost every community and not just centered in one place. As a young female growing up, the older folk, one of the things that you would always hear from them, I believe, some of them couldn't read, mind you, but they knew the value of education. And so they always would try to push you to ensure that you realize that without education, without reading, without having that drive, that you would not get anywhere. and they made it known to you. With parenting these days, that is lacking. It's like if I give you the Nike, or you have the spray ground for school, you have an iPhone, and we're not even checking up on what they're doing on those devices. But we feel content in ourselves that because we didn't have them, that is okay. One can give a child reward, but as a child, I knew that a reward came when you did something good. You had to ace the class. You had to top something. You had to be good at something. There was a little incentive at home growing up. We used to look forward to going to Asu Square, and you had to behave sort of nicely all year, make very little mistakes so that your little pouch would be full. And that was little incentives and little ways to actually motivate kids. All of those things are lacking. And of course, the onus is on us as parents. He was talking about the legislation where it pertains to mothers and fathers. I would like to say that there are indeed a number of fathers that have stepped up the ladder, and there's some miserable young moms. However, there's a higher percentage of fear in facing the responsibility of fatherhood when it comes to fathers. I don't know if it's sort of a social problem, a lack of self-esteem, or what that hinders this sort of balance. Because for a lot of families now, especially with young families who are not quite settled, because sometimes you find yourself in a relationship where the two don't mesh. A child comes out of that. And you have situations where young men think that if they're not in that female's life in some way or another, they're not obligated to support, whether it be emotional or financial support. And that also is the start, or that is where it begins to rot, because that child is left to the care of one parent. That one parent, sometimes because of the challenges faced in providing some of the needs of that child, with the absence of the input of the father or contributions of the father, some of those women find themselves in depression. Some of those women do not know how to control the anger that they built, or the walls they build because of the relationships that they have with those persons. And so the kids are left to feel the brunt of it. And so as a society, collectively as a people, we need to tighten our belts and to go back to the days when we all looked out for each other. And like he rightly said, hand in hand with the policies, the revisitation of legislation where it comes to parents, the revisitation of legislation when it comes to the type of education that we offer our kids. There's a lack in vocational skills. There's a lack in the participation of kids into sports. Now we have things like the Free Kick Foundation, which you don't hear too much about, but is very active in recruiting young soccer players or football players from St. Lucia to colleges within the United States and so on, which are very good programs. But these programs, as Tim rightly said, I think need to be across the board. It shouldn't be something that's just centered on a situation as to who you know or just one particular athlete. The more people we can recruit, the more children we can give equal opportunity, shows that we are ready to develop a society that is ready for the challenges ahead. So we can have much more than just one Laverne Spencer. Tonight I wanted also to use to congratulate and to use the success of an individual, a young female that I've watched, admired, and listened to her story, was called to the bar in the person of Miss Jadia Japierre, and that was on Wednesday. She was called to the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court of St. Lucia. And in her maiden speech, she articulated two very important points. It is never too late to start over. We need to continue to instill hope in young people that if I've faltered, if I've made a mistake, I shouldn't be denigrated or sort of labeled because of that, but instead one should provide collective support, find out what the issues are, because also one of her other points was you can bounce back from anything. But one of the points that struck me was that she said she was a product of a village, and she noted that many people worked hard and sacrificed so that she could be here today. So she tells of her success story, but she's also immensely grateful that that story was not just about her. It was about a village. It was about caring people. It was about people who saw the potential in her and the drive within herself to know that she can do better, and the want within her own self to be of service to her country. And all of those things are issues that we need to share with our youth, to show them that failure is not the end of the journey, or lack of opportunity is not the end of the journey, but for one to look within themselves. And as parents, we need to start guiding our youth. I see a lot of young kids below the age of 18 indulging in smoking in the presence of their parents. Whether you're a Rastafarian or you're a ghetto youth, you need to take some responsibility for your kids. Okay? And be indulging in activities that are unsavory in the presence of your kids, whether we are females or males, is totally unacceptable. Bringing your kids to the ghetto if you know the sort of activity that goes on there is unacceptable. And one cannot continue to blame society for the problems that they should be tackling at home. Because one thing I know for certain is that if you train a child in the way that he should grow, he may be deterred by friends, peer pressure, but as he grows up and he goes back, he or she can never depart from it. It will always be stepping stones when they are failing. And so I continue to strive to be a part of effective change. I want to be a part of instilling confidence, greater self-esteem in young females and in young males. I frequent the communities, and a few years ago, after most of my girlfriends had moved away to the United States, I remained in St. Lucia, and for me it was sort of like slightly different because my peers were not around. But I didn't lose myself. I saw a lot of young females coming to the area of the CDC and so on, and they were so enthusiastic. A lot of them had a lot of talent. I would watch them on a Friday style each other's hair, and one could never think that this was not a hairdresser. So there are a number of young people out there who may not be academically inclined, but might be very skillful technically, vocationally, or what have you. I think that as a government and as a people, we need to start pushing a lot more vocational skills and setting the pace where people can become empowered. And so instead of being idle, that we can see entrepreneurs out of some of those persons. At this point, we go for a break, and we will be back.
Aging gracefully is the hope for everyone. But when you age prematurely, most people think that something is wrong with you. The natural enzymes and building blocks in your skin start to deplete, so fine or deep lines and wrinkles appear, making you look much older than you really are. At Derma Clinic, we can help repair your skin and change the way you look in minutes. These treatments will make you look younger. At Derma Clinic, we treat all kinds of skin problems, such as facial lines, dark circles around the eyes, crow's feet, and frown lines, using all-natural hyaluronic acid filler. So maintain and improve your facial appearance. For more information, call 453-6417 or 485-9818.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains, and illnesses? When there's help for you. At Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatment that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains, and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems, such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild, the power to heal, the future of pain relief.
Nestled in the quiet northern neighborhood of Larry Twet is a housing development designed specifically for homeowners looking for that ideal location, the epitome of serenity, a retreat from the hustle and bustle of everyday living. Our homes cater to the specific needs of you, the modern homeowner: style, comfort, space, and above all, privacy. Want to experience scenic, breathtaking mountain views, postcard garden sunsets, balconies overlooking well-manicured gardens, and large yard and parking space? Visit us today.
My name is Martina. I would like to say thank you to the guys from Paddy Access, especially Jermaine, for a job well done. I called him 2 days before my brother's funeral to do a live video, and I was not disappointed. He was professional and kept in touch with me throughout the live, just making sure I was satisfied with everything. I would definitely use Paddy Access again, and I highly recommend that anyone looking to do a live video to hire them. Everyone who watched my brother's funeral had good things to say about how much of a good job the videographer did. If you want satisfaction for your money, Paddy Access is the way to go.
Yeah, Sharon, one thing you said that I become very much infuriated when I have reason to witness it, and even when reality knocked me and one realized that really and truly this happens with impunity in this country. You see the idea of grown men impregnating children. The age of consent is 16. And even then, you could be held accountable for statutory rape.
Statutory rape, correct.
And so therefore, if the law states such, it would be important now for members or persons within the medical profession to know that failure to report these situations to the police is in fact acting in joint enterprise with the individual who violated or in essence raped that child.
Yes.
And so therefore, no underage child should give birth at the St. Jude's or OKEU without the individual responsible being visited by the authorities, the police unit responsible for vulnerable persons. And this is something we must get a hold of. Like you say, research states that our children, our girls become sexually active way before. Could this contribute to the amount of young ladies we see on the street, ladies of the night?
Yes, and the sad thing about
let me just say the lines are open here, people.
The sad part about it is when I was growing up, if you dared to be on the streets at a certain time, I remember there was the Central Police Station and there wasn't much to do there with the cinemas downtown. Sometimes we would try to head to the library area, the square area, just for hanging out. You literally have policemen calling you from up there, hey, where are you going? You know, you just wouldn't get away. And it's a situation where you had something called the extended family, which no longer exists now.
Yeah, but we have a call. Good night, caller. Hello, good night, caller.
Good night.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, hello, good night. Go ahead, dear.
Good night.
Good night.
I can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm hearing you. I am hearing you.
Okay, yes. You'll have a very good topic tonight because I'm a mother and the time when I raised is totally different to now. And a lot of the mothers now are young children and they don't know how to raise up their child because some of the parents, if like the teacher say, my child do something wrong in the school, instead from to tell the child, listen to your teacher, some parents will say curse them, insult them, and that's not good. In the time my mother raised me, it wasn't like that. That's a totally different generation now. The young parents nowadays have no respect to themselves, and I heard you all talk about the way they dress. You tell me you dress in the same way with your child as a daughter, short clothes on you, and you out with your daughter. What do you expect the child will do? The child will do just like you. Because my mother wearing a short dress, all the legs is outside. So why I can't be too? So we need to raise our children in a way that they will respect other people. I remember I was young, I passed and I did not greet an elderly lady. And the time I showed them, I don't know how, they didn't put before that time. By the time I reached him, another in my face. Why you pass and tell the lady was not sitting to a coconut? You'll ever spend that now? Who are to children now? No. You see, that's why a lot of the children do a lot of things because our children is different. You as parents. A teacher is very important to our children, to us, because without a teacher, you cannot learn. But the first learning is at your home, not at school, at home. And if you can't treat your children at your home, then no one will do better at school. Because you are the parents, you curse child, you insult the child, you tell the child all. So from the children is learning. So need a program you'll have there is very, very, very nice. It's really important so that the parents, the young parents, can hear how and where to raise their children. And I'm telling you, it is a different generation now, and we are the young parents that causing that generation children get like that. My son not doing that or my daughter not doing that. You don't know. Your child is doing something, the person outside will know before you. That's inside, because you're not outside. It's the people outside can see. And
but caller,
and someone see what child do and come tell you. You should be proud the person and tell you about it, because you cannot see what the child is doing outside.
Caller,
be outside all the time.
Caller, do you think
but
that
my people
do you
all do the job? Mr. Francis, I'm saying hello to you. I do listen to your clients and how I take advice.
All right, my dear. Thanks much, caller. But Shamin, do you think that to institutionalize parenting classes, especially for first-time teenage mothers, do you think that would help?
I think that it would help.
We have a call before you answer. Hold on to that. Let me just take that call. Good night,
Yeah,
caller.
good night.
Good night, my brother.
I cannot hear you properly. You need to raise your volume on our phone.
All right. You hearing me clearly now? Caller.
A little better.
All right.
But I just want to say tonight that your passion for the young people, it is excellent. And I just do hope that parents do take heed of what is being said. And before I leave, I just want to say something to the Rastafarian community of St. Lucia. You're part of this country, and I would like to see them take a page from their leader, Haile Selassie, a politician,
who placed
so that they can make
education
life
at
a
the
little
top.
better for them.
Who placed education at the top of his agenda. So much
education and land.
So much so that he gave up one of his universities to become Ethiopia's first college. First university,
brother.
one of his palaces, sorry.
And I would just like us to take heed of that, and our Rastafarian brothers and sisters, you do help in this situation also. Have a blessed night. Let me say a good night to the grandmaster, the teacher.
Indeed, it is warranted. Thanks much, my brother. Strength received, strength given. Yes, Shamin, you were saying with regards to institutionalized parenting classes for especially teenage mothers. Do you think that would help insofar as their ability and capacity building rather, insofar as parenting, proper parenting?
I think that every parent should sort of educate themselves with parenting skills.
No, but when you say educate themselves, what I'm saying is, do you think that the state, a state agency, a statutory institution should make it available?
I think so. I strongly believe that. The reason I said so is because sometimes we have different approaches to how we do things. For me as a parent, fortunately for me, the institution that my son attended at the age of 2, when he was enrolled, I was given guidelines from that school with regards to how to begin parenting from that particular age onwards. And it was a constant guide to me. It taught me how to go down to the level of a child to listen.
So then in that case it worked for you?
It worked for me.
Alright, we have a call. Let's take that call. Good night, caller. Good night, caller. Go ahead.
Yes, Tim. Good night.
Good night. Good night, dear.
Let me tell you, generation nowadays, okay? Sometimes we don't have to blame ourselves the way we raise our children. You understand? Because in my days when I wake up, in my days when I start growing, you wouldn't sit down among these elderly people when especially when they say that they're talking. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're 6 o'clock, you're in already.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But when you see children nowadays, wherever the mother is, they are.
They are.
Sometimes we cannot blame them. We have to blame the mother. Because if charity begins at home, remember that.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay?
But also to sometimes it's not just blaming the mothers to have to realize that though in some cases you have to break your back and you have to go out there and create that struggle to and engage in that struggle to create that stability on the home set, but then you choose where it is your child should be present with you. It cannot be everywhere every time.
Very well. Very well. Because I am a single mother, Tim. I raised 7 children on my own. Okay? My last daughter is 20 years. And I refuse at that age they outside Addis Ababa. You see how old they are right now? Who at work? Maybe. But I'm betting right now there, if I call anyone, they're sleeping already.
But it is because of the value system you instill. It is because of the values you instill.
Very well. Very well. Because remember, when we have children, we don't do children for our own, right? We do children for outsiders. Because when we were small, if you pass and you don't tell an elderly person morning, they go ring your ears for you, and there's no way you can go and cry for your mother because your mother will ring your ears for you too.
Well, I come from that era, but hear what I did. Well, I didn't come in the era of actually getting your ears too. Hear what I did. I actually, because parenting, there's no book when it comes to parenting. Parenting is extreme, meticulous observation because every child is different. I recognize my daughter 2 years passing, and when I say good afternoon, she wouldn't say notwithstanding. So I said to her straight out, if you're gonna watch people in their face, because I realized that demanding she said might in essence be affecting personality and character. So I said to her straight out, if you're gonna watch people in their face, you had better greet them when I greet them, or even when I don't greet them. So what I did now is, when I greet people, I watching her. And on a number of occasions, after we walk, say, 20 or 30 yards, I would say to stop and say to her, but you didn't say good afternoon, and you watch the lady or the mister in his eye, let's go right back. And when that happened 4 or 5 times, she knew exactly what. If she didn't want to say good afternoon, she would pass with her head down. And if she didn't want to, she would definitely say good afternoon because daddy says so.
Very well.
We have to recognize and not... What I've noticed in this society and in this culture, a number of parents beat assertiveness out of their children.
Very well.
They beat character out of their children very early. And so therefore, you have a population who refuse to partake, who refuse to take chances, who refuse to exercise that free spirit.
That's so true. So true.
Let me just say to parents, a 3-year-old child cannot be rude.
Definitely.
So the idea of a rude child, that is nonsense. Character is being set, and we must be very careful not to beat assertiveness out of our children.
Thank you, because I always telling them, when you have a tree raising up, from the time that tree bursts and you see it going crooked, you're supposed to put it straight.
Exactly.
And get it straight. Because to go up crooked.
There
when it's already crooked, you cannot put it straight again.
Alright.
You cannot put it straight again.
So for parents who try to be more of a friend to their children rather than a parent,
very well. You cannot be a child friend. It's supposed to be the parent.
It is a danger. It is a danger.
Let me tell you something, Tim. My first daughter, when my first daughter was at the age of 14 years, okay, I used to be working night time. But obviously a neighbor told me, I'm not blaming you because I know you're at work. But if you see the way she does go out, you'll be surprised because I know that's not you. I say, okay. What I do, I ask my boss a day off. And I watch her. The night she was going out, before she went out, she brought the clothes. She pressed it. She asked me, Mommy, did you think that is appropriate for me to go out? I tell her no. She started getting on. I don't tell her nothing. I wait when she went to the bathroom. You know what I did? I take her scissors and I put in it. Because since you want to go out naked, I'll send you naked. Oh yes. I put her scissors in it. By the time she finished bath, when she come inside, when she dressed, when she reach outside, her sister asked her, hey, what kind of dress you have on you? You don't see the clothes on you? When she watch herself in the mirror, Tim, there's no way she's going to go outside again. And up to this day, she can never put something that's inappropriate.
And there is no way she would have brought an outfit of that sort into the house again.
Yes. There are certain times she does give her daughter the joke.
So the message was sent. So the message was sent.
You have a grandmother, that grandmother you have there. You better don't even let her see you put anything inappropriate on you because she'll take on you on the road.
The message was sent, the lesson was taught. Yes. Anyway, thank you, caller. Thanks very much. Very insightful. We try and get as much calls as possible. All right. Now, Charmaine, you see what she said there about parents taking the bull by the horn.
Yes.
Too many parents don't take the bull by the horn, and the caller before made reference to parents, especially young parents, showing up at the schools, telling off teachers.
Yes.
Let me just state here that in 8 weeks of summer holidays, parents, most parents if not all, beg that school reopen so that the teachers deal with their children for them. You say, let me hold on to that point. We have a call. Caller, good night, caller. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, dear. Go ahead, my dear.
Good night.
Good night.
Your program is very interesting tonight. However, I think we need to stop blaming young people and the whole cycle. One of the things I've observed, because I actually work on maternity, and we do have a lot of young people, 14, 15, 16, coming to have children. And what I've observed is that young people are leaving their discharge and they're not going in the care of their parent or guardian. So I think the ministries that are responsible, they need to take a deeper look as to what is really happening, because those young girls are being discharged, and they are actually going into the care of their partner or whatever you want to call it. So we cannot just close our eyes and just say we want to blame young people. So we have to look at the whole cycle of what's happening. Children are making children, so what is it the country has in place to work with families, the poverty we see happening? I mean, we just cannot close our eyes to it, because sometimes we may just sit at our homes and want to cast stones, but at the end of the day, there are lots of families who have nothing to eat. Not saying it's appropriate for them to do what they're doing, but we have to take a deeper look. And every community, we have reps, we have ministries, we now have to redirect and focus as to how are we going to work with our families? What are we going to do to stop this generational thing? Because when you look at it, it's getting worse, and then it's not only the girls. Our young boys are also having children. It's not just the girls, because we've seen about 14
my
and 15 years
bad. That's oversight on my part.
At 14 and 15 years also making children. So I'm just saying now we need to sit back, look at our programs, look at what we've done in the past. It's not working. We need to change our direction. We need to also go to the community level, speak to persons. What can we do as a society to change the pattern? And what I'm also saying, I want to reach out to Ministry of Education. School is reopening. That the principals and the teachers and the counselors take time, look at your register. Please check your children that are not back at school, whether it's the boys or the girls, and what is the plan, what is the direction for them, because they will be children, maybe because they have a baby or other issues or financial issues. So I think we need to now take a stand. The community needs to come together. It takes a village to raise a child. We keep saying it, but how many of us are actually reaching out to other people, other families? Something at this point, last year was COVID, everybody was doing homeschooling. A lot of children dropped out of school for many different reasons. So I really want Ministry of Education to go to your roll call, principals and teachers, the children, both boys and girls who have not returned to school.
Very, very
Find
important.
out what is the reason, where are they, and
very
what are we
important,
going to do to get them back in the school system.
Very,
That's
very
just
important.
One contribution.
Thank you so much, caller. Very important. And Charmaine, you cannot overemphasize the importance of what it is she just said.
Yeah,
because
I thought of it
because
myself.
after such a long period of non-formal schooling, there are a number of students who, I don't know if I could say abscond, but who have not and may not return to the classroom. And it is incumbent on the ministry officials and the authorities to seek and find out why. So then the intervention, in some cases, like she said, poverty is creeping in, the ability of parents to provide, in some cases, is diminished. And so therefore, a intervention program for such must be instituted. And I'm sure that the Minister of Education, if it's an oversight on his part, or if he have not thought of it, thinking of it now, it is something he would consider. One child left out is too much when that child can be saved. We have a call. Go ahead. Good night, caller. Good night, caller.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Very interesting topic tonight, but I'm taking another trend. I want to thank the government of St. Lucia, and special thanks is going out to Honorable Richard Frederick for his initiative on the housing project that is going on now. Yeah, it is a very good humanitarian project that is going on there. Because I've seen quotas of people where they're going to get the entire house renovated for about $13,000. Unlike what the Sky FM people were saying. They were saying it's one sheet of galvanized, the government is going to give her 2 sheets of plywood. But it's not like what they're saying. You know? It's a total different thing what the government is saying. There's a lady who has to have her roof renovated. And it might cost, I don't know the cost yet, but I'll get the cost in the week because the people are very close to me. She will get, it's maybe costing about 12,000 or 10,000 to get the entire roof process. I can say, well, truly Santa Claus has come to town in this Christmas season. This government is making people happy. Because I'll tell you something when I was a boy. When I was 7 years, I was attending an infant school. And we sang, the teachers used to make us sing Santa Claus is coming to town before school. And around this Christmas festival, we sang the first year, we sang the second year, Santa never came. With the third year, I was 9 years. I called on my teacher and said, Miss, the teacher caught my attention, she turned towards me to see what I was saying. I said, Miss, Santa Claus is not coming. The teacher stared at me for about 4 seconds, then she took back her position and she told the class, Santa Claus is coming to town. Let's sing. I sing, but with a little haste. Now today we're seeing that what the government is doing that in this festive season, during this Christmas season, man, I say Santa Claus is in town there. And they're not giving toys to people. Because we're not little children. They're renovating your house. They're renovating your roof. And you're getting a complete structure renovated, which is very good. And this government is doing a lot. And we're hearing, even today I heard a host on Sky FM say, this government is doing nothing. And so much people is going to benefit from that. But what I would like to see, I would like to see this project go out throughout the entire 5 years. If the funders, the people who fund it are willing to put funding into it, carry out throughout the 5 years, so a lot of people are going to benefit from that. And I have to thank the ministers who come out to the communities to see the people who are listed for the project, to see where the money is spending. The ministers come out, to see where the projects are. And this is very good. And the people are going to be in the hearts of these people forever for doing this. Yeah, and what I did, the budget has not even called. I'm coming to the budget soon. But like in the Papa Zeda saying his song, when he met this old lady and she said...
Caller, it's nice that you recognize after more than 30 years that Santa Claus has come and Clove holding a star to guide the way and the insignia, the St. Lucia Labour Party. Thank you so much, caller.
This is what's happening there now.
We're trying to get as much calls as possible. We have somebody else on the line.
Okay, good then. All right.
Thank you very much, caller. Charmaine, and to just segue a little, what he said in terms, I think there need to be information, because a number of persons have confronted me with regards to this housing thing, but we'll deal with that in some other segment. A caller spoke to the fact of young mothers visiting schools and not carrying themselves properly, but in a confrontation manner insofar as the authorities. Yes, I'll come back to that. We have a caller. Caller, good night, caller.
Yes, good night, Charmaine. Good night, Tim.
Good night, my brother.
My brother, has been a long, long time. Very long. Many years. I'm proud to see both of you up here.
Is that TMC?
It is, my brother. It is.
A long time.
Long time. And I must say, like other callers, the topics, you see, these are the type of topics I enjoy. I like to hear the how could I say, the mindset of our people. And I listen to talk shows to get a sense and a feel for our people.
That's what it does.
I don't go onto the political side. I don't have the time for it because it doesn't really impact the people the way I should, whether it is left or right.
Yes.
I look at reality. And doing good is important. And some may see it differently as to what is good in their books and what is not good. So I don't go on that line.
Very much so.
But I want to speak to the aspect of development of our children. And one of the things we have to remember, and you said it sometimes, parents can't wait for school to open because they want the children at school. It's like you don't want the responsibility. And it is sad. It is sad. But when le ba la tebo komun kadi, le ba la tebo, me batela. But out of the good time, here comes a young girl or young boy who could be anything body in society that this child wants to be. It's not because you have grown up in the ghettos, and you and I know of people that are in the ghettos who have excelled in so many different avenues.
Especially from our generation.
Exactly. So it doesn't have to be that. It has to take a mind. And as parents, we have to see, how do we develop that mind? Despite not having the fancy tiki-talk, how do we develop our child to enjoy playing games? Despite not having the laptop, despite not having a colored TV, despite not having the most comfortable bed, despite not having the most fancy shoes, how do you develop your child to understand value? How do you develop your child to understand respect? In our days, how could we go down to Miss Mary's shop and do say good morning when you walk into Miss Mary's shop? Même si maman ou papa parler by Miss Mary. Jamais entrer la pas dit bonjour on dit bye, because si Miss Mary dit maman ou ça, même si papa parler maman ou kay batou. We have lost that in our people, and for some reason, more and more young people, sadly to say to a certain extent, are having children. So the passing on of that brought up C, like they used to call it, has been lost, watered down. It's no longer a drink that we enjoy. It is like a glow up, you know. And as young people, we are the generation of tomorrow. And I look at you and I look at this young lady there on my television and I say, wow, you know, we are the ones. When we were younger, we used to look at, hey, look at these 40-year-olds and look at these 30, you know, we're young and we're looking up to these people. And remember, we are the people that these kids now look up to. And what do they see? How do they see us? And the business of people going into the school because the teacher said this or the teacher says that, it is so sad. But again, it's where is the value? Where is the brought-up C being passed on? Even if you're going through hard times, you know, you can't just beat your child crazy. Remember that video of this lady beating the child because of a shoe?
Shoes, yes.
Remember that?
Yes, yes.
You know, and I think it was the aunt, not even the actual mother. I mean, remember that for a shoe?
Travesty. You totally demolish the value, the self-worth of that child.
And what was amazing, the amazing thing that came out of it, corporate society, remember our brother South,
yes,
God
responded
bless his soul,
in a very
came
big
out
way.
and gave, and others gave to this young. I don't forget these things, my brother.
In a very
I
big
look
way.
at these things and I look at it and I say there's still good in us. There's still people that are good out there. But somehow or the other, this message you send in there, we need more of that message going out to our people. And not just from people like you. Other younger generations who are on radio stations and all over that have a sense of pride, need to also have a sense of pride in the topics that they bring forward because people listen to them. Sadly, BET has tainted us. You know what I mean? Sadly, it has given us the big gold chain and the drop the pants under the waist and the this and the that.
A cultural penetration in a negative way. And this is why I say a crisis of identity.
Sadly to say.
And not just BT.
You know.
But remember,
the good works.
we were also called, remember the term vipers. Actually, the generation of vipers was actually thrown at us, eh?
Yes.
When I say us, I mean our generation.
Our generation.
Yes.
And we turned out so good.
Yes, indeed. Sadly, you know, I lost my mother at an early age of 17. I'm in my 40s now, and I always say, boy, if only she was there to see how I turned out, because I wasn't the best. I would not run away from that. We all had our time.
But even then, we lined together, we partied together. The value system was such that even she not being there, you owed it to her to not disappoint.
Nah, you can't do that because again, like the people say, you live to the name. You have to have that pride in yourself and pass it on to your children, so they too have that pride and your legacy lives on.
That is where longevity exists.
Be safe, you know, stay blessed, I'm happy Richard Frederick has given you guys a platform in which you can, change the mindset and help, how could I say, mold the future of St. Lucia.
That's what it's about.
All right, have a blessed one. We'll
My
touch
brother,
base,
thanks much, man, TMC. It's been a long time, yeah, and only the faithful know that it's TMC.
It's all good, my brother. Tim, it's all good. Sister, hold tight.
Thank you
love,
so much.
love,
You too.
bless.
Much love. Yes.
And you see, Charmaine, really, our generation, to a great extent, was really and truly one of the last generations to be raised by a community. Because, believe it or not, when it was okay with my mother that I was smoking, there was Miss Flora, there was Ma Maggie, there was that I would literally hide my cigarette or when I saw them. I would not have done it for my mother.
Age, eh?
So
at the appropriate age.
At the appropriate age. We have a caller nonetheless. Good night, caller.
Yeah, good night, Tim, and your guest.
Good night, my brother. My co-host,
your co-host, sorry.
Yes.
Very good topic tonight, man. I love it. As a parent, when I had my first child at the age of 21, I used to look forward when I get paid on the fortnight to go and buy lactogen and Nestum for my child. But sadly these days, some of the fathers, they bring forth children, but they don't father children.
Yes,
which is
very
a
much
problem
so.
we have in society.
Very much so.
Fathers, especially those who bring forth children, don't take responsibility for their children. Parenting is serious. That's why sometimes in church, sometimes when I animate, I tell people, if you're not ready for child,
don't go there.
Don't go there.
It's not a trophy.
Yeah, it's not a trophy. Parenting is serious business.
It's a
because a lot of things you have to put aside to see about your children. If you're a man that like party and you want to continue partying, don't go and look for a child yet. Because there is a time when you have child, you have to forget party.
Have to.
If you drink in 4 beers, there are times you have to say, boy, let me drink 2 beers because I need to take care of my children. It's serious business, man. It's serious business. And what I find sometimes, men, I'm a man, but men have to share a lot of the problems we have now. Because they just go, like I said, they just give child, but they don't father child. Now that creates a problem. You understand? Imagine when a young lady, going to school, you impregnate her, and then you take pleasure in doing that, and not even at the end of the fortnight tell her, okay, look, they have to take you to family court to feed what is yours. Imagine, man, and sometimes you buy the market in every rum shop buying drinks for all your friends, and you have children out there that need a tin of milk, that need a little clothes to wear from hobbies, man. But very good topic. It's serious business.
One thing I want to say to these fathers is that the joy, if you're absent in your child's life, that joy of being a father, my brother, you could never know that. That total innocence that you experience or you give out when you're in the presence of your child, they will never know that.
It's true, very true. It's serious business. I remember, my wife used to work at a hotel. There are times I have 2 girls, I used to drop them by their aunt. Sometimes when I want to go for a little line. But sometimes I'll say, nah, man, I am the father of these 2 girls. I will put them in my vehicle and we go lineman. One in the front seat, one in the back seat, sleeping, and when it is 11 o'clock, I pick up my wife and we go home, man. It's not the auntie's business all the time to take care, and I want to go lineman. No, man, they are my children. I go with them, So I hope, like I say, it's a very good topic. People, men especially, when you go out there doing what you're doing, you enjoy the same way you enjoy it, the same way you should be enjoying
what
being
comes
a parent
out of it
and being there for that child or your children. Yeah.
But what happened to plenty of our young fathers is that, for me, you number one, as long as your belly flat. When that belly go up and come down, what was in there becomes the most precious, the number 1, 2, and 3. You know what I'm telling you? The woman, the mother, my first priority and my first love is my child. The mother comes after, if love continue. But trust me, too many men, too many young fellas, too many fathers are consumed by the mother and not the child, which in essence means the child was never wanted.
Unplanned.
Unplanned. Well, I wouldn't say planned, because I don't think most of us came about as a result of being planned, you know, Charmaine. What I think is, young people, as long as you become sexually active, you have to know the possibility and the responsibility. And so therefore, if the possibility occurs, you must subject yourself to the responsibility. I don't think it is a plan per se, because I wasn't planned.
In some cases you may not have, and in some cases you may have young couples who are courting for a couple years and say, hey, I set a precedence that I want to have a child between such and such an age. So they have a different approach to parenting.
You have that.
Does not necessarily mean that there may not be challenges along the way, or sometimes that couple may decide to go their separate ways. But they have a more willing attitude with co-parenting because of the nature of the love that both parties share for the betterment of that child. And when you have social issues where you have young people who didn't have actual fathers in their homes, we had it in our generation, remember, there was something called the barrel child. These children are indeed contributors who have children themselves, but because they did not have actual parents around them and were raised by other persons, sometimes there are social issues or tiffin problems that may have contributed to certain things. So that's why I say this thing is so much bigger than we think. But the onus again is on us as a people, and like the last caller rightly said, we, the generation left, because a lot more of those people are much older than us and are on their way to a different transition. And we are tasked with the burden of trying to ensure that not just being here as host of Can I Help You, but within our communities, within our daily lives, to ensure that our mission is to help persuade the powers that be to change legislation reflecting, you know, the formulation of policy which relates to actual solutions that bring about positive change and empowerment, so that we arrest this problem now before it becomes something that we cannot control. Because now we see too many young persons. We see robberies where we see young, very, very young men. And that all stems from poverty, deprivation. There are so many issues. But like we rightly said, we're not going to just cast blame on the government or the school system, but collectively, the school system, the government, ourselves as parents, our communities, we all need to join hand in hand, because this is indeed a very, very serious issue.
But yeah, very much so. And I still, let me get back. You really want to address that thing of parents going to the school in a confrontational matter, because I don't think as a parent, I want you to sit back and just ask yourself, think for a minute, what is the repercussions of your actions? You know what it means? It means that the teacher will no longer be encouraged to spend that extra 15 minutes. It means that the teacher will no longer go the extra mile to seek participation from your son or daughter in the class events. It means that the teacher will limit the interaction with your child as much as possible. You're creating an atmosphere where when your child don't understand the class or the lesson, they themselves feel held back and unable to clearly articulate themselves and ask the teacher to expound on the matter. And so therefore, you go into the school to make noise with a teacher or to behave arrogant with a teacher is a danger to your child. It's nothing about the teacher. It's a danger to your child. You endangering the future of your child. And parents, persons who go to the school in a confrontational manner must come to realize that teachers hold back because they feel threatened. We cannot, this cannot be, it's unacceptable. And the earlier caller who works in the medical profession, who spoke to the fact that they see it all the time. Legislation
must be implemented.
A government institution cannot facilitate criminality, and a 14-year-old child giving birth at a government giving birth anywhere at all is criminality, left alone at a government institution. Something must be done about that. The legislation must be strengthened. A message must be sent to those who prey on the innocence, who prey on the vulnerability of young persons. We ain't going nowhere if we don't deal with that. It must be dealt with. Fathers who want to be part of their children's life, the law must complement and strengthen and defend that right. Moving forward, fixing this place necessitates such action. Before we wrap up, I want to wish my mother an advance birthday greetings. Her birthday is on Sunday. So, mommy, yeah, happy birthday, your one and only son. And and talking about one and only son, my mother made me as a teenager. My mother was a teenager when she had me. But the point is, my grandmother was so stern that you did not become a woman upon giving birth.
My mother was the same.
You a child who fell through the cracks, who made a mistake, and as such, you will be treated as such. Right. You know what I'm telling you? Hopefully, you will pick up and realize where you went wrong, and it will not be my birth was not a destruction of her personality, character, ambition, otherwise. And so a lot of parents does that. The 14-year-old who was on a school bench the year before is now an adult.
Yeah, automatically.
It takes a community to raise a child. And this we must recognize. Let me also shout out my N-Triple fans from the N-Triple secondary school. Sometime in the week, one of them stopped me. It's a bunch of young ladies who are very much interested in, I wouldn't say me per se, I would say the issues as I present them. Let me ask them to continue to maintain that interest, because solutions for liberating our country and placing us on the map might be in them. Yeah, let me thank Betty, Miss Mayan, for watching. Sansusi, I know you guys are locked in Lastic Hill. Also, let me just say to the persons Lastic Hill that a senior person from the CCC will be visiting the area to make an assessment with regards to the clogged drains. I think you need to reconfigure these drains completely. So I am sorry in terms of time, but we all know the place have not been maintained from 4 months leading up to election, and so therefore the workload is huge. Lastic Hill, in the coming week, a senior person from the City Council will visit to assess your issue with the view of dealing with it. Shamin.
Okay, I would like to shout out some regular Can I Help You viewers. Pinky DD, I saw Peter the Great from Toronto, Mais from the CDC, Princess, Deborah, Mr. Hurricane, Willow, also known as Owen, or one of the Butterbread brothers, Baba, Kim, Miss Gilliana, in Conway, Ken, Sauti, not forgetting Cornelia Jacob, Arlene Yearwood, Tara, Poole, Master Wong, my mom, Mary, my uncle Basil, Buffa Uleo in the US, who is actually a family member, my cousin, logged on. I'd like to thank you guys for the support that you continue to give to us, and we pledge that we will do our utmost in ensuring that our role played within our participation as activists in the community for change and empowerment, not just for the young persons of St. Lucia, the children of St. Lucia, but St. Lucia by extension. We thank our great teacher, the Honorable Richard Frederick, for providing an opportunity for us to give the best of ourselves and to be a catalyst for those young people who feel that there is no hope. If you believe in yourself and you have a dream, pursue it. As a child, they always used to say, I'm talkative. Maybe Burfa would laugh now. I always had a dream watching Andrew Vaughan Well, watching Valerie Albert and the greats, and saying one day, maybe I'd be up there. Opportunity did not provide me to go to broadcasting school or anything of the sort, but I never let go of the dream. I continued to pursue reading. I continued to pursue seeking information, educating myself in whatever capacity that I could. And today, Richard Frederick has seen, the Honorable has seen the determination, and he is poised and confident that we can deliver in his absence. And to him I say thank you. And to the youth of St. Lucia and the children of St. Lucia, I say nothing can stop you if you have a dream. Just continue to push on and seek the advice and the strength that you need, because there are persons out there who are willing to help St. Lucia to become a much better place. Good night and thank you.
Thank you, Charmaine. Can I help you? I say good night. We look forward to next week. Teacher may be in next week. I am certain. He did promise to be in this week. I am certain that what kept him away, he had no choice. And so therefore, we look forward to meeting next week. Good night.
Aging gracefully is the hope for everyone. But when you age prematurely, most people think that something is wrong with you. The natural enzymes and building blocks in your skin start to deplete, so fine or deep lines and wrinkles appear, making you look much